First contact. Captain Jyn stared through the viewport at the infinite tapestry of stars, each one a distant sun holding secrets yet unknown. The new horizon hummed quietly around him, its engines carrying them toward their destiny in the Kepler 442 system. "Captain," called Na, his science officer. Her fingers danced across holographic displays, data streams reflecting in her dark eyes. "We're approaching the system perimeter. My scans confirm 4 planetary bodies orbiting the primary star." Jyn nodded, studying the tactical display. After 3 weeks in hyperspace, they'd finally reached their destination. "What's our situation, Na?" "The inner 3 planets are uninhabitable, too hot, no atmosphere, or both." "But the 4th planet?" She paused, her expression shifting to one of wonder. "Captain, it's remarkable. Oxygen-nitrogen atmosphere, liquid water, gravity at 0.98 Earth standard. It's like finding another Earth." From his position at the security station, Q looked up from cleaning his plasma rifle. The man was built like a fortress, all muscle and vigilance. "Sounds too good to be true, Captain. Could be a trap." "You, their communications specialist, barely looked old enough to be out of the academy, but her skills with technology were unmatched." She frowned at her console. "That's what worries me. I'm not detecting any artificial signals, no cities, no ships, no communication networks. For a planet this perfect, it's suspiciously quiet." Na's eyes widened as new data flooded her screens. "Captain, I'm reading some unusual energy signatures from the surface. The patterns are unlike anything in our databases. They're not matching any known natural phenomena." Q's hand moved instinctively to his weapon. "Unknown energy signatures usually mean trouble, Captain." Jyn weighed their options. He'd commanded the New Horizon for 5 years, and his crew trusted his judgment. They'd come too far to turn back now based on caution alone. "We investigate, but we go in prepared." Q, run full diagnostics on all defensive systems. "Nah, I want continuous scans." "You, monitor all frequencies. If so much as a microbe sneezes down there, I want to know about it." As they approached the mysterious 4th planet, its beauty took their breath away. Swirling clouds of purple and pink danced through the atmosphere, while the surface below showed impossible colors, emerald forests that seemed to glow with their own light, crystal formations that caught and refracted the system's star into rainbow cascades. "By the void," you whispered, "it's like something from a dream." "Dreams can become nightmares quickly," Q muttered, but even he couldn't hide his fascination. Na's voice carried a note of scientific excitement that Jyn recognized. "Captain, the energy readings are off the charts. Whatever's generating them, it's not geological. This could be the discovery of the century." Jyn made his decision. "Plot a landing course, Na. Find us somewhere flat and defensible, close to those energy sources but with escape routes available." "Already on it, Captain. There's a clearing near what appears to be a luminescent forest. The ground is stable, and the area seems peaceful." As the New Horizon descended through the alien atmosphere, Jyn couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. The planet's beauty was undeniable, but something about it felt too perfect, too welcoming. In his experience, the universe rarely offered gifts without a price. The ship touched down with barely a whisper, its landing systems perfectly calibrated. Through the viewports, they could see the alien forest stretching before them, trees that pulsed with soft bioluminescence, their light shifting and flowing like liquid starlight. "Atmospheric readings confirm breathable air," Na reported. "Temperature is comfortable, humidity optimal. It's like this planet was designed for human habitation." "That's exactly what worries me," Q said, checking his sidearm one final time. Jyn stood, feeling the weight of command settle on his shoulders. Whatever lay beyond the airlock would change their lives forever, he was certain of it. The question was whether that change would be wonderful or terrible. "Suit up," he ordered. "We explore together, we stay together, and we trust each other." Whatever we find out there, we face it as a crew. As they prepared to step onto an alien world, none of them could have imagined just how profoundly this moment would reshape their understanding of intelligence, communication, and friendship across the vast gulf of space. The Guardian. The airlock hissed open, and Captain Jyn stepped onto the alien world. The surface felt springy beneath his boots, like walking on a living carpet. The air carried the sweet scent of unknown flowers mixed with something that reminded him of petrichor after rain. Incredible, Na breathed, her scanner whirring as it took readings. The bioluminescence isn't just in the trees, it's in everything. The grass, the flowers, even some of the rocks. The entire ecosystem seems to have evolved to produce its own light. Yu was already recording, her camera capturing the ethereal beauty around them. The glowing trees towered overhead, their leaves creating a gentle symphony as they rustled in the warm breeze. In the distance, crystal formations jutted from rolling hills like frozen lightning, refracting the planet's light into spectacular displays. "Stay alert," Q warned, his rifle at the ready. Beautiful doesn't mean safe. They moved deeper into the luminescent forest, following Na's scanner toward the strongest energy readings. The path seemed almost deliberately clear, as if something had maintained it. Flowers turned to follow their movement, opening and closing in response to their presence. "Captain," Na said, her voice tight with excitement and concern, "the energy signatures are getting stronger. They're definitely not natural. Something on this planet is generating massive amounts of organized electromagnetic activity." "What kind of something?" Jyn asked, though he suspected he wouldn't like the answer. "Something with the computational power of a small city," Na replied. "But the patterns, they're too organic to be artificial intelligence. It's like watching a massive brain thinking." Q suddenly froze, his hand raised in warning. Movement. Something big, behind those crystal formations. They all stopped, straining to see through the glowing foliage. A shadow shifted among the prismatic structures, something large and deliberate in its movements. "Size estimate?" Jyn whispered. "Big as a shuttle," Q replied. "Maybe bigger." "It's not trying to hide anymore." As if summoned by their words, the creature emerged from behind the crystals. It was magnificent and terrifying in equal measure, standing nearly 3 meters tall at the shoulder, with 4 powerful legs supporting an elongated body covered in scales that shifted color like liquid mercury. Its head was elongated and graceful, with large, multifaceted eyes that seemed to hold depth beyond measure. "Nobody move," Jyn ordered softly. "Let's see what it does." The creature regarded them with obvious intelligence, its head tilting with curiosity rather than aggression. Its scales cycled through a mesmerizing pattern of blues, greens, and purples, the colors flowing like aurora across its hide. "It's beautiful," Yu whispered, still recording. "Look at those eyes, they're so aware, so knowing." Na's scanner was going wild. "Captain, the electromagnetic readings just spiked. It's coming from the creature itself. Its brain activity is off the charts, more complex than anything we've ever recorded." The creature took a step closer, and Q tensed. "Captain, should I?" "No weapons," Jyn said firmly. "Look at its body language. It's curious, not aggressive. We're the first humans it's ever seen, and it's trying to understand us just as much as we're trying to understand it." The creature made a sound, a deep, melodious hum that seemed to resonate through the ground itself. The sound carried patterns, rhythms that suggested meaning beyond simple animal communication. "It's trying to talk to us," Yu said, her communication equipment lighting up like a festival display. "The sounds have structure, syntax. This isn't just an animal, it's a person." Na's readings confirmed it. The electromagnetic emissions are synchronized with its vocalizations. It's using multiple communication methods simultaneously: sound, electromagnetic fields, maybe even quantum entanglement. "This is the most sophisticated communication system I've ever encountered." Jyn took a careful step forward, his hands visible and empty. "Hello," he said clearly. We come in peace. We mean no harm. The creature's massive eyes focused on Jyn with laser intensity. For a moment, he felt as if it was looking directly into his soul, understanding him on a level that went beyond words. Then something extraordinary happened. The creature's mouth opened, and it made sounds that, while alien, carried the unmistakable cadence of language. The electromagnetic patterns flowing from its body synchronized with the sounds, creating a communication method that used both traditional sound waves and direct neural interface. "My God," Na whispered. "It's not just intelligent, it's been trying to communicate with us since we landed. Those energy signatures we detected? They were attempts at contact." The creature seemed to understand their amazement. Its scales shifted to warmer colors, golds and soft greens, and it made another sound, this one almost like a gentle laugh. "I think," Jyn said slowly, "we just made first contact with a civilization that's been waiting for us to arrive." The creature nodded, actually nodded, as if it understood every word. In that moment, Jyn realized they weren't just explorers anymore. They were ambassadors to a species that might be far more advanced than they'd ever imagined. Understanding. Over the following hours, what began as a tense first contact evolved into something remarkable. The creature, who they learned to call Ethon through a complex exchange of sounds and electromagnetic patterns, proved to be not just intelligent, but patient and curious about the humans. You had become the unofficial translator, her communication equipment interfacing with Ethon's natural electromagnetic abilities. "It's incredible, Captain," she explained as Ethon demonstrated its communication method. "Ethon doesn't just speak, it shares concepts directly. When it wants to explain something about the forest, I can actually feel the sensation of wind through the luminescent leaves." Na was in scientific paradise, her scanners revealing layer after layer of complexity in Ethon's biology. Its brain operates on multiple levels simultaneously. While it's talking to us, it's also monitoring the entire forest's ecosystem, maintaining the energy patterns that keep the bioluminescence stable, and doing what I can only describe as higher mathematics. Q, initially the most suspicious, had gradually relaxed as Ethon proved its peaceful intentions. "I'll admit, Captain, this isn't what I expected when we landed. The creature, Ethon, it's been watching over this entire region like a guardian." Through painstaking communication, they learned that Ethon was indeed a guardian of sorts. Its species, the Lamari, had evolved to become living stewards of their world's ecosystems. Each Lamari was responsible for maintaining the delicate balance that kept their planet's unique biology thriving. "But there's something else," you said, her expression troubled. "Ethon keeps trying to tell us about something it calls the Great Silence. From what I can understand, the Lamari used to have contact with other worlds, other species. But something happened, they lost that connection centuries ago." Ethon's scales shifted to deeper blues and purples as it communicated this information, the colors conveying sadness more clearly than words ever could. "Ethon has been alone," Na realized. "Not just alone, its entire species has been isolated. They've been maintaining their world, waiting for someone to break the silence." Jyn felt the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders. They hadn't just discovered a new species, they'd found a civilization that had been cut off from the galactic community for generations. "Can you ask Ethon if there are others like it?" Jyn requested. You relayed the question through her equipment, and Ethon's response came as a mixture of sound and direct emotional transmission. The longing in its communication was palpable. "There are others," you translated, "but they're scattered across the planet, each maintaining their own regions. They can communicate across vast distances, but they're dying out. Their numbers have been declining for centuries." The revelation hit the crew like a physical blow. They weren't just meeting a new species, they were potentially witnessing its final generation. "Ask Ethon if our arrival means something to them," Jyn said quietly. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Ethon's scales erupted in brilliant golds and whites, patterns of joy and hope cascading across its body. Through Yu's equipment, they felt a surge of emotion so pure and powerful that it brought tears to their eyes. "We're not just visitors," you whispered. "We're proof that the Lamari aren't alone in the universe anymore. Our arrival has given them hope that the great silence can finally be broken." Na was studying her readings with growing excitement. "Captain, I think I understand now. The Lamari aren't just biologically advanced, they're connected to their planet on a quantum level. They've been broadcasting into space for centuries, trying to re-establish contact with other civilizations. The energy signatures we detected weren't just communication attempts, they were distress calls." Q's expression had softened completely. "So Ethon isn't just a guardian of the forest. It's been guarding hope itself, waiting for someone to answer their call." Ethon seemed to understand their growing comprehension. It approached Jyn slowly, its massive head lowering until they were at eye level. When it spoke this time, the sound was soft, almost whispered, but the electromagnetic component carried the weight of centuries of loneliness and the bright spark of newfound hope. Yu's voice was choked with emotion as she translated, it's saying, "Thank you for ending the silence. Thank you for coming home." In that moment, Jyn realized that their mission had fundamentally changed. They weren't just explorers anymore, they were the bridge between Earth and a dying civilization that had never stopped believing someone would eventually hear their call. "Tell Ethon," Jyn said, his voice steady with new purpose, "that the silence is over. We're going to make sure the Lamari are never alone again." The bond. The next few days transformed everything. What had begun as a scientific expedition became something far more profound, a cultural exchange that would reshape both species' understanding of friendship and cooperation. Ethon had led them deeper into the luminescent forest, to a grove where the trees formed a natural amphitheater. Here, other Lamari began to arrive, some traveling from distant regions, drawn by Ethon's electromagnetic broadcasts about the humans' arrival. "There are 12 of them now," Na reported, her voice filled with wonder. "Each one is responsible for maintaining the ecosystem of an entire continent. They're like living planets themselves, connected to every growing thing in their domain." The gathering was unlike anything they could have imagined. The Lamari communicated in cascading waves of electromagnetic energy that created aurora-like displays in the sky above them. Their scales reflected and amplified each other's patterns, turning the grove into a symphony of living light. "They're sharing memories," Yu explained, her equipment struggling to process the complexity of the communication. "Not just about us, but about their entire history. The great silence, the gradual loss of contact with other worlds, the slow decline of their population, they're sharing it all." Q had become particularly fascinated with one of the younger Lamari, who seemed to be the equivalent of a student or apprentice. "It keeps trying to understand how our weapons work," he said with amusement. "Not because it wants to harm anyone, but because it's curious about our technology. I've been showing it how we defend ourselves, and it's been showing me how they protect their forests." But it was the bond between Jyn and Ethon that had become something truly special. Over the course of their communications, they had developed an understanding that transcended language barriers. Ethon had begun referring to Jyn in a way that you translated as something between honored guest and chosen family. "Captain," you said one evening as they sat by their campfire while the Lamari rested in their own fashion, "I think Ethon sees you as more than just our leader." In Lamari culture, there's a concept that doesn't translate directly, but it's something like a soul bond, a connection between beings that transcend species barriers. "What does that mean, exactly?" Jyn asked, though he could feel the answer in the way Ethon always positioned itself nearby, always seemed to anticipate his needs. "It means Ethon considers you family," Na said softly. "The Lamari don't form casual friendships, when they bond with someone, it's for life. Apparently, humans are the first species they've encountered that they can form these bonds with." The implications were staggering. They weren't just making contact with an alien species, they were being adopted into their society. The breakthrough came on their 4th day in the grove. You had been working with the Lamari to establish a more efficient communication protocol when suddenly her equipment began receiving structured signals from space. "Captain," she called out excitedly. "I'm receiving a transmission, it's coming from the edge of the system. Someone's trying to reach us. The message, when decoded, was from Earth's Interstellar Command, New Horizon, report status. Long-range sensors detected massive energy signatures from your location. Are you in distress? Jyn looked at Ethan, whose scales had shifted to curious patterns of silver and blue. Through their growing bond, he could sense the creature's anticipation. Not distress, Jyn said to you. Send a message back. Tell them we've made contact with an intelligent species, and we're requesting immediate support for a full diplomatic mission. As you transmitted their response, Ethan moved closer to Jyn. The large creature's electromagnetic field brushed against Jyn's mind, carrying feelings of gratitude, hope, and something that could only be described as love. They understand what this means, Na observed, watching the other Lamari as they received Ethan's broadcast about the human response. They know that their isolation is truly ending. The response from Earth came within hours. New Horizon, maintain position. Diplomatic vessel Aurora with full xenobiology team departing immediately. Estimated arrival, 2 weeks. Congratulations on first contact. When you translated the message for the Lamari, their reaction was extraordinary. The entire grove erupted in patterns of light so bright and joyful that they illuminated the forest for kilometers around. The electromagnetic celebration was so powerful that it interfaced directly with the humans' neural systems, allowing them to feel the Lamari's pure, overwhelming happiness. They're singing, you said, tears streaming down her face. They're singing songs of gratitude that they haven't been able to sing for centuries. Ethan approached Jyn and, in a gesture that surprised everyone, pressed its massive forehead gently against the captain's chest. The electromagnetic pulse that accompanied the gesture carried a message so clear that it needed no translation. Thank you, my human family. Thank you for bringing us home to the stars. In that moment, Jyn understood that they had accomplished something far greater than exploration. They had ended a centuries-long isolation and forged bonds that would unite two species across the vast emptiness of space. The great silence was over, and a new age of cooperation was about to begin. New Horizons. 2 weeks later, the Aurora arrived with a full diplomatic team, xenobiologists, linguists, and cultural specialists. But by then, the real work had already been done by 4 humans and their Lamari friends. Captain Jyn stood in the same grove where they had first gathered, watching as Ambassador Sarah Chen met with the assembled Lamari Council. The translation equipment you had developed had evolved far beyond simple communication. It now allowed for true cultural exchange, sharing not just words but emotions, concepts, and even memories. It's remarkable, Dr. Elena Vasquez, the mission's lead xenobiologist, told Jyn as she reviewed Na's extensive data. The Lamari aren't just intelligent, they're ecosystem architects. They could help us restore damaged biospheres across the galaxy. The knowledge they possess about biological systems is centuries ahead of our own. But for Jyn, the true measure of their success wasn't in the scientific data or the diplomatic protocols being established. It was in the moment when Q had taught a young Lamari how to salute, and the creature had responded by offering its own gesture of respect, a complex pattern of scales that conveyed honor, friendship, and protection. You know what the most amazing part is? You said as she packed up her equipment for the journey home. Ethan told me that in Lamari culture, when someone helps end a great sadness, they become part of the family permanently. We're not just allies to them, we're literally family. Na was staying behind as part of the permanent research team, her enthusiasm for Lamari science too great to abandon. Captain, she said during their final briefing, what we've learned here is going to revolutionize everything we understand about intelligence, ecology, and interspecies cooperation. The Lamari don't just want to share their knowledge, they want to help us become better stewards of the worlds we inhabit. The farewell ceremony was unlike anything the diplomatic team had expected. Each Lamari approached each human individually, sharing a moment of electromagnetic connection that conveyed their personal gratitude and hopes for the future. The patterns of light that accompanied these exchanges painted the sky in colors that had no names in human language. When Ethan's turn came to say goodbye to Jyn, the moment stretched beyond words. The great creature's electromagnetic field enveloped the captain, sharing memories of their time together, feelings of gratitude and affection, and a promise that transcended distance and time. Through used translation equipment, Ethan's final message was simple but profound: "Thank you, my human father friend. You watched over this lost child when it was alone, and now it will never be alone again. The stars remember kindness, and they will always guide you safely home." As the New Horizon prepared for departure, Jyn stood at the observation deck, looking down at the planet that had given them so much more than they had expected to find. The Lumari had gathered in the clearing where they had first landed, their combined bioluminescence creating a farewell beacon that could be seen from orbit. "Captain," Q said, joining him at the observation window, "I've been thinking about what Ethan said about watching over the lost child. Do you think it was talking about itself, or about all of us?" Jyn considered the question as the New Horizon began its journey toward hyperspace. "Maybe both," he said finally. "Maybe we're all lost children, just looking for someone to watch over us and tell us we're not alone." The ship jumped to hyperspace, but the bond forged between human and Lumari remained unbroken. Behind them, they left a world no longer isolated, no longer silent. And ahead of them lay a galaxy where the concept of family had just expanded to encompass entirely new definitions of love, friendship, and belonging. In the months that followed, the Lumari-Human Alliance would become a model for interspecies cooperation. The Lumari's ecological expertise would help restore dozens of damaged worlds, while human technology would reconnect the scattered Lumari populations across their planet. The Great Silence had ended, replaced by a constant symphony of cooperation and friendship that spanned the stars. And sometimes, when Jyn looked up at the night sky from Earth, he could swear he felt Ethan's electromagnetic greeting carried on the solar wind, a reminder that family isn't defined by species or distance, but by the willingness to watch over each other when the darkness seems too vast to bear alone. The universe had become a little less lonely, and a lot more like home. The end.